Hello and welcome back to another episode of Continental War, Kerbal Space Program, where we are looking at the turn map once again, where Xenos has managed to reclaim his forward operating base and has placed some defenses in the south, although they are very weak. So, for my plan that I've been preparing at turn after turn so far, we finally are able to begin Operation Scorpion, where we are hoping to mainly just hold the north as long as we can and divert most of our forces down to the south, which we will be getting here. But I do have something to say, as this is turn 5, we do have some new additions, along with destroyers and battle cruisers to naval launches, and we have the reserve forces. Reserve forces mostly consist of just biplanes and, well, very primitive tanks. Tanks that pretty much just use, like, weaker armor and, well, anti-air guns as their main armament. So, we are able to deploy those. I might list it on screen here, so if you're seeing any numbers and random things on screen, Xenos will be able to launch more than me on turn 5, and turn 5 only. But, yeah, we're able to deploy those whenever need be, at only limited amounts whenever we do decide to deploy them. But, yep, they don't replenish, so when we use them, we use them. But anyway, without further ado, let me get on with my turn. So, moving to the north at Osiris Fortress, we have our new cruiser to replace the old Ophelia-class cruisers with their underwhelming 6-inch guns. This boasts 8-inch guns instead. We also deploy the CSS Zeus, an Avalon-class light cruiser with 12 5-inch batteries and 2 40mm anti-air guns that are dual-mounted, so it technically has 4. This will hopefully protect the new Northern Fleet. We also resupply our carrier with 4 fighters to cover the airspace above our new Northern Fleet. And now, moving down to the south, we are moving our Southern Fleet in the ASEA away from ASEA's front, and it's going to move up north. We're going to try and stick this fleet away from Xenos' Northern Fleet, as he has made quite a force up there and completely disregarded the south. And we're going to try and stick this out of range of his ships, but try and at least, you know, use our attackers to do some damage to his navy. And using our heavy fighter in the north that we had last turn, we move it in to try and do a little bit of damage to Xenos' tanks that he used to reclaim his forward operating base last turn. I jumped straight into the dive here as we're evading some 3-inch fire, as Xenos put 3 3-inch guns here, which can be very deadly. If like one of those emplacements hits your plane, you're screwed. So we drop our 2 250-pound bombs here, hoping that they will connect with their targets. We turn around and start to head back home as we continue to evade 3-inch flak fire. These 3-inch shells are very deadly, but there's no real rapid fire anti-air, so as long as I'm safe with the, as long as I'm sure with my evasive maneuvers, we should not get hit. We do land both of those bombs, and I'm assuming we started a fire in one of the emplacements or something, because as we're flying away, we turn back and look at the forward operating base, and like something just detonates down there and takes out one of the AT guns and one of the 3-inch emplacements. So we have taken out 2 of the emplacements there. Now, moving back down to the south, we take off 2 of our KE-6A Lances that have been sitting down here forever doing nothing. But they finally have a use now, as Xenos put 2 fighters, the OE, what is it, 6A Typhoon, I believe? Yeah, taking off here as they scramble off the runway to intercept our fighters. These have proven to be quite superior to our own in maneuverability, although I do think we have the edge in speed. So we get as high up as we can, and we dive down on the incoming Typhoons, the intercepting Typhoons, with our 20mm Shivaks. We're just hoping that we can actually kill these. I don't care if we lose one of these planes, as long as we can clear the airspace, it'll let us move in with our singular medium tank. I want to hopefully save a lot of our launches for the north this turn. But we come into the head-on here, we fire off a few shots. I did get this little cool, like kind of a cool shot of us coming in here. But we don't really get any kills or any hits, and we don't really fire that many rounds either. But I instantly turn off the AI on this aircraft and take control of it myself, because we've had very varying success in our engagements with these OE-6A Typhoons, the Aurelian fighters. So I'm going to take control of this one and try my best to take down one of these fighters. and hope that my wingman can just survive long enough. He does manage to actually set fire onto one of those Typhoons there. I do try to switch targets here, but then I look to my left there, and that one has kind of come right into my crosshairs. So I open up and strip a wing off of it. Now I instantly try and turn around because I feel like that other Typhoon, and literally, yeah, he's right on my tail. And once one of these Typhoon is on your tail, it is very hard to get it off, as he is just pretty much stuck on my 6 o'clock. I cannot get him off, no matter how hard I try. I try and do a split S here, but he pulls the guns around and strips my wing off and splits me in half. So I switch to my wingman, and I turn the AI off on him as well. I pitch my plane instantly up as I want to have a gun solution on him as soon as possible. It seems like he is still trying to follow my corpse down into the ground, so I open up some gunfire and I strip a wing off of that Typhoon, and he falls down into the water below. So we have lost one fighter, but we have taken out the aircraft covering the southern base here for Xenos. I do believe it's called Avalonia. So now this means we can move in our single medium tank and hopefully clear out the meager defenses that are holding Avalonia. So after clearing out the airspace, we move in one of our supply trucks to build the final bridge to Avalonia. So now that we can move our singular medium tank, it is kind of funny that we're sending only one medium tank to Avalonia, but here is a little montage of me moving the tank in. So, after making it to the base, we slowly begin to crest the ridge here, and I do eventually decide to turn on the guard mode here. Now, there is only a single light tank here, and from where we are on the top of this hill, I don't know it yet, but we are completely out of range of the light tank's gun. The light tank's gun only has a range of about 2.5 kilometers, and the only thing that can shoot at me are the 3-inch emplacements down there, so we not launched one 76mm or 75mm shell down there, and instantly kill both of the 3-inch emplacements as we take a single round from them, which I think takes out something in the internals but doesn't damage too much else. We put a few shells into the light tank there until we get a good explosion, I do believe. It does take a little. That light tank is armored. And I can tell it is the light tank at this point because it is taking a lot of shots. And there's a big explosion down there, and it does take out the 20mm emplacement by it. We fire another shot at the other 20mm emplacement, and we fire one at the last 20mm emplacement behind those hangars that are over there. We take one more shot, and I do think it goes up. Yep, there it goes. And we have to put in a bunch more rounds into the light tank until it actually does blow up. So yes, this was pretty much the entire plan of Operation Scorpion, was just to push into Avalonia, take it, and hopefully hold it for next turn. I don't think I'm going to have much to be able to defend it here, as I want to be able to hold the north and not have to worry about that. So we are just going to try and hold it the best I can with what I have next turn, but we will be launching hopefully more major offensives into the south in future turns. Here I do think we see the light tank actually, it takes another hit there, hear an explosion, and I think after we start moving, it will finally blow up here. Jeez, that light tank's taking a lot of rounds. There we go, and the light tank goes up. Here is, yes, here is our defenses at Avalonia. We have one 20mm emplacement, our remaining KE-6A Lance, and our Rockhead. Sadly, this is all we are able to muster up to defend Avalonia, but hopefully it will do. Now, moving back up to the north, we launch 4 more heavy fighters. I couldn't come up with a better way to kind of have air cover over the north while also being able to deal as much damage to Xenos' forward operating base as possible. So I think heavy fighters are the best compromise, as if we don't lose any, I'll have 5, and that's a perfect number for next turn. So hopefully we don't lose any, but that is really up in the air right now. They do some weird little rolls as they take off there, which is pretty funny. But hopefully these will be able to do enough damage to the forward operating base, as I want to only have to deal with the tanks the Aurelia will launch next turn, and not the ones from his last turn, as he didn't lose a single one taking his forward operating base back. But we are flying in here. I do think we do start to take some 3-inch shells, and I do start to pull some... Yep, there we go. I take one and start instantly leaking fuel. So I get the best sense to start pulling some evasive maneuvers. As I said earlier, I don't want to lose a single one of these heavy fighters. I want to be able to have as many of these for next turn. As I already know, my the Lances are inferior to Xenos's. Typhoons, I think just having EagleEyes here, these heavy fighters, is better all in all, as I can bomb with them and they can provide air cover. Of course, they're nowhere near as maneuverable as the Lances, but they are very fast and are very durable. Very, very durable. They're basically 2 planes in one, so they can take a lot of shots, a lot of hits. They can lose a lot of things and still be able to fly. As you see here, we lose the entire right pylon of this EagleEye, and then we proceed to drop our bombs on the forward operating base. But it's now been pretty much turned into a conventional single-engine fighter and is still flying perfectly fine. The only problem with it is that the AI does not know what the hell to do with it. So I do wind up doing a strafing run with it in here in a little bit, but as we watch these bombs land, they land short. So they basically don't do anything to any of the units down there. So I'm just going to cut right to our strafing run here. I turn on mouse aim flight, and see, I'm having a little bit of trouble flying it, but for the most part, it's flying perfectly okay. But the explosion rocked the plane so hard that one of the guns has been angled up and one of them is angled down, so I can only really aim with one of the guns properly, which is kind of halving my firepower with these 23mm. So I try to get as many good shots on as one of these copperheads, the really new heavy tank, or medium tank, which seems to be quite a big threat to us. And we do see here one of those wing panels gets knocked off, and I instantly roll to the right and almost slam into the 3-inch emplacement, losing that heavy fighter. So sadly, we do actually lose one of the heavy fighters. Hopefully we will not lose any more in our continued bombing runs, but we do need to make sure that Xenos will not have any tanks left over for next turn to attack our base. So coming in with the next pair of 250-pound bombs, we drop them a lot lower this time, and I'm surprised that I actually didn't lose this one, because I came in really low here. I was expecting, if anything, this one to get shot down by the 3-inch emplacements, but no, it does manage to make it out so far without getting hit. Those 250-pound bombs seem a lot better than the last ones and slam into the forward operating base, blowing up, I think that was the tank destroyer down there that we hit, the WR-8A BOA, which, yes, here we go, takes quite a nasty hit and is quite heavily damaged there. Our heavy fighter does start to leak fuel, but takes no more damage, so he is scot-free. Now, with our third EagleEye, we come in once again and drop 2 more 250-pound bombs onto the forward operating base. And yes, I am staying quite high, as I really don't want to fly over the 3-inch emplacements for that long, since we did already lose one of our heavy fighters, and I need as many as we can keep alive for next turn. Now, watching these 250-pound bombs fly in, I think Xenos might have packed his units way too close together, as there is a massive ammo explosion down there, and it blows up almost like half of the units down here. Takes out one of the anti-tank guns, one of the 3-inch emplacements, and one of the WR-12A Copperheads, his medium tanks. So now, if I can land 2 of these 250-pound bombs, there will only be... Well, yeah, this tank destroyer also got killed as well. Literally, the entire tank tread was blown off, and the entire bottom of the tank had been completely disconnected. And I was a little bit of an idiot here, not watching this fly in, but we do manage to drop our last 2 250-pound bombs on the remaining medium tank and 3-inch emplacement. It's only one 3-inch emplacement now, so I'm not too worried. Now, I'm only really throwing some light evasive maneuvers, although I shouldn't be getting too cocky. And that bomb does manage to take out the 3-inch emplacement, but the Copperhead is still, like, barely alive. It's holding up. No frontal plate, so I decide that I'm going to strafe it and try and get some rounds inside the internals of that tank and blow it up, which will leave Xenos with nothing at his forward operating base for next turn, which would be amazing, as I will be able to formulate a great defense at our forward operating base for next turn. I don't plan to take the forward operating base this turn. I feel like it's just going to turn into a continuous kind of like meat grinder, and I'm just going to keep losing the units that I throw at it. So I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to defend our actual forward operating base instead of continuously throwing units here. So we will have 4 heavy fighters for next turn. Not as many as I wanted, but we will have at least some sort of air cover over our forward operating base, which is good for sure. It's better than not having any. So now moving back to our forward operating base, we land our 3 heavy fighters that survived the attacks on the Aurelian forward operating base, and we also launch our new heavy tank. This is the CA-12A Greyhound. It boasts an 88mm gun and is kind of modeled off the Tiger II. Also comes with a free 50 cal turret, which is able to shoot at incoming air targets. This will hopefully be able to quite wellly defend our forward operating base. Along with the heavy tank, we'll also launch 2 of our Rockhead medium tanks with the low velocity 75mm guns, as that's all I'm able to launch with the remaining points because of that heavy tank. It's quite expensive. But yeah, hopefully these tanks will be able to protect the forward operating base. And on top of the tanks, we also deploy a 75mm anti-tank gun with our supply trucks. Now I've moved it way along the base, so hopefully it has a lot more yaw range along the incoming terrain, which hopefully will make it actually be able to fire at the any incoming tanks that attack our forward operating base next turn. We also, I think these have been here, these 20mm emplacements. We also deploy a 3-inch emplacement, and that 37mm SPA has been here. But something new, we deploy an early warning radar with our supply trucks, which will let our heavy fighters take off 10 kilometers sooner, so at 20 kilometers instead of 15. We also move 2 supply trucks down to our southern forward operating base to continue our offensive in the south, which will hopefully, they will be able to make it to Avalonia next turn. So that is it for my turn. I do hope you all enjoyed. Here is the turn map if you do want to look at it. We have started to rebuild our navy, so that is looking a lot better in the ASEA. We hold quite a strong defensive in the north. I'm hoping that Xenos is not able to break through our defense up there next turn, as that is very important on Operation Scorpion actually succeeding down in the south. And which it could easily be foiled if Xenos is able to take out our single medium tank, our single KE-6A Lance, and our single SPA does down there. We have quite meager defenses. But I do hope you all enjoyed, and I'm hoping that we actually continue making videos. It seems like we are uploading on Saturdays currently. That seems like to be the normal, so hopefully I will see you next Saturday for the next turn of Continental War. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one.